By all now to call upon John and Leah to deliver the eulogy. Thanks, Father. Before I start, can you try and imagine this eulogy that have been excerpts from Grandma's life in the form of a book? Recently, I've been to two other funerals, one in Italy with Pavarotti. And this book, although expensively bound in its own special library, unfortunately had many sad chapters leading to the final page, where you realised who he really loved and cared for to the very end. This week, a good friend passed away with half a book still empty due to unfortunate circumstances. Yes, both very sad endings. But please don't feel sad and focus on the last page of my grandma's book, but feel happy that you shared part of grandma's life, which I'm sure has been filled with music, a wicked sense of humour, night singing, caring, and an overall feeling of being loved. And weird to all this, today Grandma passed away on Amy's funeral day and Pavarotti's birthday today, so there's some really weird linking here. Anyway, chapter 1. Grandma's early years in Coolgardie must have been quite extraordinary, as she was an only child of a single mother and her home was the Coolgardie Hospital. But she loved her time of schooling at the Coolgardie Convent, where she was very successful both musically and academically. When her mother married Harry Pop Randall of Randall and Edwards, the jewellers, they moved to Kalgoorlie, and Grandma then commenced working a number of secretarial jobs, waiting to her acceptance into teacher training. Ray Simpson, my granddad, intervened, and as a young couple they enjoyed a courtship with dances, tennis matches, motorbike adventures and bush picnics. Granddad often referred to Grandma as the most beautiful girl in Coolgardie, and we can see from the early photos of her, we can understand that. Grandma and Granddad then moved to Wiluna after their marriage. It was a fierce and unforgiving town, but they made lifelong friends there and a lot of fun. Grandma nearly had Granddad sacked when she cut the windows into the hessian walls of their house to get some relief from the heat. It was a serious incident, and Grandma always remembered it with a blush of embarrassment. The move to Kalgoorlie and the Trafalgar lease was made after World War II was declared. Granddad enlisted, and Grandma became one of the stalwarts of the lease community, where women banded together to bring up their children and to support each other in every kind of family emergency. Some research suggests that this would be the early becomings of the Chardonnay, or the gin and tonic hour on Friday afternoon, which I understand now is universally supported by all mums in Australia, including Sean. After the war, as Granddad received promotions, Grandma was definitely the woman behind the successful man. There are many stories of Granddad's generosity that extended to large groups of people celebrating some event, with him inviting them back home for a nightcap. Somehow, Grandma would produce the necessary cakes and sandwiches to feed the starving mob. Granddad would realise it was past his bedtime, so in front of everyone he would take off his shoes and disappear, and Grandma was left to be the hostess, and the night would continue often with songs around the piano. At this time, Harry Randall, known as Pop, had come to live with the Simpsons. He was a fastidious man, as you can appreciate being a jeweller, and quite demanding at times, but Grandma and Granddad must have looked after him very well as he lived to 97 years of age. He was an integral part of the family for all of those years. Grandma was also a leader in organising the mine Christmas parties. This was a great event for the mine employees as their families, and in those years was held at Grandma's home. Grandma's bath was filled with thousands of lollies prior to the ladies wrapping them into bags for distribution. A wrapped present from Father Christmas was given to all the children, and foods, drinks, games and dancing were all part of the afternoon. Grandma seemed to forget what a huge effort was required each year and never complained. Each of Grandma's girls were married in Kalgoorlie, and the receptions that were held in the gardens on the Percy lease. I can still remember all of those weddings so clearly, especially my parents. The smell of the water petunias in the summer evenings and the early experience of alcohol by the grandchildren under the long white linen covered tables will never be forgotten. Grandma would love being involved with clothes, organising the tippets to do the catering properly, and ensuring the gardens were in good order, and most of all, restraining Grandad from offering whiskey to all the helpers. They were magnificent occasions, and Pete and I were just recalling how we'd often go out with Grandma in front of the house at the Percy Leith. There was a grass verge, and you wouldn't believe in the heat of Kalgoorlie how it could remain so green, but in certain times of year, because this is where the mushrooms would appear. And there was great times with Grandma, I can remember, out there picking them, and also over the road, just towards the mine, there was an orchard, and many a time we would go over with my three brothers, two other brothers, and muck around in the orchard there. Rockingham was where the beach house was located, and in fact the house was one of the first to be jingled down, and this house was relocated from an area near Kew. It was put on these big trucks and transported to Rockingham. Each Christmas was spent repairing, painting and extending the house. Judy also recalls the boat that was there, the 5 Janes, named for obvious reasons, that they used during the holidays. Grandma wasn't a beach lover. In fact, Judy was saying that all 4 daughters were great swimmers, yet Grandma would never venture the water, and she preferred to do a swoop past Fremantle and shop there called Perlman's to gather material, and with her sewing machine would spend most of the summer holidays making clothes for her girls. When Grandad retired, they moved to Tweeddale Road in Applecross in 1972 and built a grand home with the front fences wrought iron, which still stands today, being brought down from the Federal Hotel in Kalgoorlie. And this is where I guess many of the memories of the grandchildren kick in. Tweeddale has fond memories for all of us grandchildren. It was the start of the annual Christmas morning gatherings with the family photo that Protto used to do. Sam remembers in the later years that the seat next to Grandma was always special sanctuary on Christmas mornings, especially if you had a big one the night before. It was quiet, the conversation was gentle, and you didn't have to move or speak very much. It sounds like a flippant comment, but it reflects the security and consistency you got with Grandma.